They said, go and get in your plane, fly down about 20 minutes to the south and land there. It's a place called Bassingbourn, the 91st Bomb Group. We were the 379th. We got there, they told us, get out of your plane and get in this other plane. I'm sitting there waiting for somebody to tell me what I'm supposed to do, and the next thing I know, we're taking off. And the other navigator was just sitting there with his arms folded. So I led the mission. It happened to be over the invasion front. We got back to the base we started from, and we went back to our own base. And then they called me into the office. They said, well, we want to talk to you. So, well, you weren't supposed to do that. Well, I did all those things. They said, well, it was a mistake, but since you did that, we're going to promote you. Oh, good. What are they going to promote me to? Said, we're going to make you deputy leader, which is the role played by a ship that flies next to the leader up in front and is there to take over if the leader gets shot down. So they didn't tell me this, but actually the odds of getting shot down had just doubled. I flew 2 missions as deputy, and on the second one the odds came out and we got shot down. And we were hit in our right wing and the plane caught on fire. The pilot said to bail out. He ordered us all to bail out. We were over Hamburg, Germany. Was that one of the fellows who opened his chute early, I'm just positive about it. He was the first one out. He panicked and opened his parachute. They shot him to death in his parachute from the ground. Also, two more of our men were beaten to death in the ground by the German civilians. And the fourth one was killed when the plane exploded. And I fell unobserved. You couldn't see me unless you really were looking, and you wouldn't know where to look in the first place. But I landed in a suburban area across the street from a military hospital. It was a low-rise hospital. And in the hospital, German soldiers with bandages all over them were leaning out, watching me land. And within about 3 minutes, 2 soldiers drove up in a car and came at where I was. I was hidden there, supposedly, but I knew that I couldn't really conceal myself, so I put my hands up and stepped out of the bushes and surrendered. And the line that the Germans used for prisoners that they captured, particularly aviation prisoners, was, "For you, the war is over." And it was, because here we are in Hamburg, which is a good 300 miles from the English Channel. How was I supposed to get out on foot? And the funny story about the interrogation in Frankfurt was that the German officer sitting there, and so he said to me, "Where are you from?" So I said, "Chicago." And he said, "Oh, I was at the World's Fair in 1933. And we arrived at what became known as the Great Escape Camp. I was there 3 months after the Great Escape. But because they had shot 50 British officers for trying to escape in March of '44, it was no longer our duty to try to escape. We were told that by our senior officers. I was in an officers' camp, and there were 10,000 flying officers in that camp. Now, think how many planes they had to shoot down to get 10,000 flying officers. I was there 6 months at that camp. Now it's January of '45.